That's contrary to what I've information that I've heard officially. The rules are there. We've acted well within the rules, and there you have it. It's their choice, not mine.
Do you understand the frustration about
No.
it? No.
No.
Have they actually said anything on record?
I think Avram Grant has.
Has he? Will be very interesting to see what he says.
No, I mean, look,
No, well, he needs to be careful what he says, doesn't he?
Yeah. And you've been very
Because
clear.
if he wants to, you know, but I'll wait to see what he says before I make any further comment. I mean, unless you want to enlighten me, of course.
I haven't got the exact words. So
Well, there we are then. So are we presuming that we know what he said, or
Yeah.
he didn't pick him anyway? Do you want me to reiterate what I've already told you?
Yeah.
Well, no. It's got legs again, and it shouldn't have. But
I think
no,
but you've made it clear.
I made it
that
perfectly
it's-
clear
it's
that he was going to be
assessment.
out for 10 days to 2 weeks, which he was. He had an assessment, he had a scan.
And that was by an independent.
Well, he first had one by us. He then went to London to have an independent one, which is, of course, arranged by them. And that concurred with what the findings that we'd already come to the conclusion, you know. Medical people from the independent inquiry, assessment and ours were the same. Don't fly. And then, of course, they made their decision based on that because they had to the following day. Failed to see how anybody can have any problem with that.
Fair enough, thank you.
Although one person I know did think it sounded dodgy, but there we are. You always get people who are going to speculate, don't you? Naughty journalists and all that.
That wasn't me, I don't think.
No, I don't think it was you.
Okay.
I'd let you know if it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I haven't had anything else for the day. I've now got to throw names at you that you don't want
Have
to
you?
talk about.
So why are you going to bother then?
Because it's not your bottle. But
Yeah, okay.
you've got to
I hear that one a lot.
Okazaki.
Yeah.
Is there any movement with that? Is there any developments there?
I have got nothing further to tell you about where we are with, you know, any potential deals. It's my stance is always the same, but I have to be perfectly honest with you. I've got nothing further to tell you because any potential targets that we're currently looking at, you know, it's proving to be difficult, and so, you know, without naming those players, it's very much a case of stalemate at the moment. So there's nothing really to report, and in the sense that I can't give you anything that's factual in terms of being any further on with potential targets, and certainly it's not my way to talk about players currently at other football clubs, but something to tell you at some point. But until we reach the stage where there is actually something more positive to talk about, and whether deals are imminent, nothing to be doing the type of business that we're doing. So, but you know, having said that, the Kramaric deal was trying to do for that was moved forward. So we're very pleased to do that, as well with Mark Schwarzer. But you know, any player that comes in, we've got to really give us something a little bit different and improve us as a squad. I mean, those sorts of circumstances remain the same very much in terms of how, you know, the sort of mindset of us of how we try and build and strengthen the squad. I suppose the temptation is to do business that you may not always do, but we'll try and do what we feel is right for where we are at the moment. But of course, it always remains a difficult one to achieve the targets that you would like to, because of the fact that you're probably going for players that other clubs don't necessarily want to lose themselves. So that's really where it's at. Sorry if that's not a great
No,
help.
that's interesting. That's an interesting one. Thank you. The two men you have signed in January,
Yeah.
Shorter and Kramaric, are they both pushing for a start? Does the FA Cup give you a chance to maybe give them a start?
Well, we've got a few things to consider with Saturday's game in mind, and but for sure, yeah, it's probably a good opportunity for them to be in with a strong shout of starting. Whether they will or not, you'll have to wait and see. But of course, there's certainly players who we've spoken about a lot this week, and it's a good opportunity for us to get some matches to one or two other players maybe as well.
You've got a really tough run in the Premier League coming up after this
Yeah.
FA Cup game.
Yeah.
Will you have one eye on those games coming up when you make your team selection?
Not necessarily. It'd be nice to progress in the cup first and foremost, and I think winning games for us at the moment is in whatever competition, I think, is more beneficial. And I think the players are capable of playing with the sort of games program that we've got. I don't see it as being a massive ask. As always, we discuss what we think are the right sort of changes to make if we do make changes. But I think the players are in very good condition, and they're in a pretty good place mentally as well. So I think first and foremost, it's important for us to pick a side that's capable of winning the tie. Of course, it's going to be a tough game. I know they've got an awful lot of options, and with the cup games that they have in quick succession, there may be changes for them on Saturday. Played last night, but they have plenty of options, and certainly in terms of their attacking options, I think it's fair to say they've got plenty of choices. So we'll wait and see.
Finally, from me, you've been on a cracking run of form over Christmas and just beyond, and then you had a bit of a blip against Stoke. Spurs, likewise, I think they had a tough time of it early on in the season, but they've won defeat in 7 now in the competition. Whatever changes both sides make, these two teams are in pretty good form going into this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, as far as we're concerned, our results in the new year have been, last week's result wasn't clearly not what we're looking for, but it was another tight game, and I'll be the first to admit that we didn't play as well as we could do, but I still don't think it was a game in which we were second best and clearly second best. It was a tight game. They won it with a bit of quality, and that's how it goes. And very difficult, I think, to continually reproduce really good. And I think I said this before we played Stoke at their place. There seems to be this perception that there are some clubs in the Premier League who are not worthy of praise. I think Stoke are very well organised and have some very talented players, and I think it's a bit dismissive to talk about a defeat, as some people have tried to do. The defeat against Stoke is something that we should be looking at with a different angle. We weren't quite able to hit the levels that we have been doing, but we're always in the game, and so we go into the next run of Premier League fixtures after playing Spurs in the cup, and that game in itself will be a great stadium to play at. I have to say, White Hart Lane has always been a stadium which is a fantastic atmosphere, and I think as a player, it's great to play at stadiums like that. So I think the players will look forward to that. But then, of course, our run of league games after that presents us with, again on paper, a very, very difficult run. All of a sudden, people want to talk about it as if it's different to a lot of other games, and you know, you could argue that there are differences, of course, but we'll see how. But first and foremost, I want us to play on Saturday and hopefully progress in the cup.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Stefan, did you have one? Andres?
My name is Stjepan Balok, I'm from Croatian national
Are you?
we make some story about Andre Kramaric, and it's interesting to me. Andre is here for 10 days. What's your first impressions? Are you satisfied?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we're delighted. First and foremost, we're delighted to have signed him. He's a player we've had interest in over a long period of time. He's been very impressive with how he's dealt with the situation. Never easy for a young man to be patient, waiting for the political side of getting done. You know, the work permits, etc. And you know, international deals are never necessarily straightforward. But he's settled in very well. His English is excellent, so I think that's a great benefit for him in terms of being able to understand what's expected. And I think the most important thing for him is he's been able to settle in with his teammates, and I'm sure he's enjoyed his experience so far. He would have liked to have had his debut to be a more positive experience, but I'm very confident that he'll have a real effect on the team's form here on in, and that's the most important thing.
It's not easy to catch the rhythm of Premiership. On your opinion, how many times do Andre need to catch the rhythm?
Hopefully one game, and he'll be all right. I don't know. Is the answer. I mean, he's an intelligent player, and because he's watched a number of games, and he's had now a week or so's experience of training with our players, and the tempo in which we train is we try and replicate games as much as we can. So I'm sure he's found that adjustment beneficial as well. But as I've said before, I'm confident he can have a positive effect on us pretty quickly. So, but I'm also aware of the fact that players do need a bit of time, and we'll try and make the transition for him as easy as possible. But ultimately, we think he's good enough to make that transition as quick as he can. Okay, my pleasure. Okay, any more?
Yeah, Nigel, sticking with Andrej.
Yeah.
I spoke to him on Tuesday, and he said he told us that